Josh, how are you, buddy?
Doing great, David. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's good to have you. So, Josh, let me introduce you as if people don't know who you are, even though a lot of people do. Josh came out of the world of New Age, okay, became a Christian, and you have written books, you do DVDs, you do, I know you and I talk together at conferences on, astral projection, on demonic activity, portals, I mean, you name it. You have a whole array of things that you have God's used you for to expose the demons, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Josh, human trafficking? It's like, I mean, what possessed you? Well, I know God did, but why human trafficking? It seems like a little bit of a curve from what you were doing. Why human trafficking?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great question. And a lot of people have wondered that as well. Though I'll tell you, you're the first one that has actually asked me on an interview. Most people ask me in private, so I appreciate having the opportunity to be able to talk about that. I've been, if people follow me, and especially if they followed me from the beginning, they can see kind of this progression from when I started that, when I first started, it was kind of about exposing surface level evils and trying to inform Christians of what Satan is up to, how Satan is going to attack them in their personal lives, how to combat against that, how to use the authority of Jesus to cast demons out, that kind of thing. And then it got a little deeper with things like Nephilim aliens. Then it got even deeper with exposing how this demonic New Age theology is creeping into the church. And now I feel like it's like the most demonic of all, child sex trafficking. So when we look at it in terms of a spiritual battle instead of only physical, then the progression makes a lot of sense, and it does tie in with a lot of my other work. But that's kind of the problem in our culture, because in our culture today, child sex trafficking is just seen as a political problem, which is a terrible way to look at it, and or just a merely like physical problem. It's very rarely seen as a spiritual issue, but that's exactly what it is, because whether it's within the heart of man or whether it's demonic entities enticing people or a combination of both, the compulsion towards this kind of perversion, this is absolutely a spiritual battle that's manifesting in our physical world.
Absolutely. Approximately $150 billion. It's $150 billion business for traffickers, 99 billion of which comes from commercial sexual exploitation of children.
Yeah, the stats are horrifying, and there are a lot of statistics that people are just unwilling to accept. I've even gotten negative reviews on Amazon because somebody misquoted the stats in the movie and then said that the misquote was too unbelievable to be true, when in reality it's just that people don't want to accept that this is going on in our country. But through government sources, through very well established sources, even shared together now.org and many other organizations, we find out that about 500,000, and this is a conservative number, but around 500,000 children are involved in trafficking every day. Now, that's not to say 500,000 kids are being kidnapped every day. That's what one reviewer, tried to say that we said. We didn't say that. It's that every day in our lives, every day we get to enjoy the freedoms that this country provides us. 500,000 children are being subjected and enslaved for the most abusive and perverse acts that we wouldn't even want to imagine. And that's their day-to-day lives. The average life expectancy of a child in trafficking is only 7 years. I mean, these are things that people don't typically want to deal with or talk about because it does shed a negative light on our country. And I love America, but America certainly isn't perfect. You can support a country and want better for it, just like Pastor Mike Spalding was saying earlier. And that's a very patriotic position to have.
Right.
You know, to love your country, but know that we can do better and we can work towards something better. So, you know, to go along with what you introed with, I'm asking people to stand with Jesus on this issue, stand with these kids for their freedom, and decide once and for all, we're going to take this culture back. We're not going to spend money on pornography or sexually explicit material, even in movies and entertainment. We're gonna shift the culture around and take these streaming companies back and say, you know what? If you start putting wholesome entertainment on here, we will buy it and you'll make a lot more money, because there's more of us. There's more Christians. I believe there's more of us in the country than there are these sick, demented perverts out there.
Absolutely. You know, Netflix came out with that Cuties movie, and I came against it. It's showing 8, 9, 10-year-old girls, I think, twerking. Okay, it's a sexual move. Okay, very sexual. It's pedophilia, Josh, pedophilia. And there was one, I think, a judge in Texas that came against it, indicted them. That's nonsense, because they're not going to take down Netflix. But here's the thing. You see, I've had people say, David, I don't really have anything to do with human trafficking. I don't touch it. I don't, you know, I'll pray for the girls. Josh, you know what I tell people? I say, you are deceived. Every person alive, breathing, has a hand in human trafficking. And I'll explain just the entry level 101 is that if you watch television and you're paying ads on a show that has sexual content on it, and I'm going to get as far as to say nudity or, you know, but these are R-rated shows. Let me take you back. Chances are this girl, that's this actress or guy, they could have come out of a world of human trafficking. And let me explain this. Where do you think all of these porno stars come from? Do you think that all of a sudden they turn 18 years old and they go, I think I'll become a porno star? No, at one time, that star was a little kid. These kids are being groomed in Hollywood, in the underground Hollywood, to go through the porno avenue, and they surface into, quote, adult, legit, legal pornography. Excuse me, please. But Josh, what I'm trying to tell you is everybody has a hand in this today because of the programming that's out there.
Oh, absolutely. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And you know what? That level of ignorance was my problem a year ago when I first started this project. And thank God that he brought this to me, because, you know, I work at Skywatch TV. Our partner ministry is Whispering Ponies Ranch, which I should mention. If people get the movie, you can get it at skywatchtvstore.com. And if you do, wherever you get it, if you get it there or Amazon, please leave a review. It really does help. But all the profits of the movie go to Whispering Ponies Ranch. David Heavener is in it, and you can ask him. I didn't pay him to be in the movie. He just did it out of the kindness and generosity of his own heart. But all the profits of the film go to Whispering Ponies Ranch. That actually helps kids who are rescued from sex trafficking.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't take anything to do that, because this is what we have to do as Christians. And I want to help you and support you. But I think I remember saying to you, man, do you know what you're getting yourself into with this human trafficking thing? And you said to me, yeah, well, you're in it too. You're in it with me, you know? Josh, I'm going to say something that's rather shocking. We can put a man on the moon. We can develop technology that's unbelievable. I'm talking amazing, supernatural type stuff, mankind, okay? Don't you think we could really stop human trafficking? I mean, if we really, really tried.
Yes, that's such a good point. The technology is there. The only thing that's not there is the motivation or the will or the backlash, the outcry. We're finally starting to see a real cultural shift in 2020, which is great to see. But it's only beginning, and we need a lot more, and we need it a lot faster. We needed this decades ago. We needed this back in the 40s and 50s, and we even deal with some of that in the movie. But you know, better late than never. But what people have to understand is you don't have the option to sit on the fence anymore. There is no such thing as ignorance anymore, or remaining in ignorance. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution, because inactivity is exactly where these abusers want you. Like inactivity, not talking about it, just deciding, well, the government will handle it. You know, I'll just vote the right guy in, and then I can sit back and, you know, watch Netflix or whatever. Choosing to do that, you're part of the problem, and you're actually facilitating and encouraging this child sex trade. So I am fully willing to admit that I was in that camp too a year ago, and I had to realize, wow, me not really doing anything up until now has been a big problem. So we all need to realize that, and it's a harsh truth, but it's a truth that we just need to deal with. We need to just get over and just say, okay, well, I should have done more, but I'm going to do something now. I'm gonna share truthful information on social media. I'm gonna talk to my community. I'm gonna talk to my friends about how 68% of Christian men, and these are just the ones that admit it, 68% of Christian men are addicted to pornography. And it's surprisingly, it's even a really high number of women too. So this is how perverse our culture has become. And there is a direct one-to-one link between pornography and child sex trafficking. You mentioned it already, but it also helps feed this market. I mean, they're making exorbitant amounts of money on this thing. So if we as individuals decide, I'm not going to be part of the problem anymore, I am not going to offer my money. If somebody is making a movie where sex is selling it, then I'm not buying it. And I'll tell you what, too, you brought up the cuties thing. I loved seeing the cancel Netflix movement, and I hope that continues, because you really got to see some of the weak excuses from even movie critics saying that, well, that's all conspiracy. They were really trying to highlight the dangers of sexual exploitation of children. But you know what? I made a movie. I made a movie about the dangers and horrors of sexual exploitation of children, and I did not have to exploit one child to do it. I did not have to hire a child actor and say, you're going to have to show your body parts on camera. You're going to have to do these sexual dances on camera. I did not have to do that once. And I made a movie dealing with these dangers. And I mean, I'm biased because, I'm the filmmaker here, but of this movie, but I think I did a better job. Now, people can judge that for themselves, but I don't think Cuties did anything to raise awareness of the horrors of child trafficking or sexual exploitation of children. All it did was normalize the already normalized pedophilia in our society. So I think what we all need to do is, as individuals, decide, what, we're going to show these streaming services that we're not going to buy into this smut. We're not going to buy this garbage and this pornographic material. We're gonna spend our money on wholesome things. And if they want that money, then they're going to have to change their strategy. And I think we can take back the culture like that if we all work together. But it's going to take us deciding as individuals to actually do it.
Absolutely. That is one aspect of it. But Josh, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this because this is the platform you stand on. What's behind human trafficking is nothing less than the pits of hell, than demons themselves. Okay?
Absolutely.
There are demons assigned for the task of human trafficking. Okay? Until God's people, now listen to me out there, until we realize that this is a spiritual battle that we fight in the spiritual realms, and that our enemy are those demons that are that are causing this human trafficking to occur, until we get to that point, we're never going to win this battle. We must facilitate. That's the word. Until we understand the demons are facilitating this battle, they're orchestrating it, that it's as real as Josh and I sitting here, as real as everyone in this room sitting here. There are demons out there grabbing the children. We're talking about kidnapping. We're talking about runaways, Josh. And here's my last point I want to make before we take a break. Where do these children come from? I mentioned they come from the world of pornography because they were groomed there. But and how did they get there? And where do these demons that are going after our children? Give me like 3 of the main places that they're grabbing these kids.
It's interesting. It seems to be all the places that the Democratic platform are trying to protect. So you find it in public schools, you find it in broken homes, and like you said, you find it in the streets. But one of the most horrifying things is it's not always a kidnapping scenario. That does happen. That does happen too often. But a lot of times, a child can be trafficked, and the parent doesn't even realize it because the child's allowed to go home. They're either threatened, like Alanka Deaton was, who we have in the film. She's a survivor of child sex trafficking. She tells tells her whole story. There's a lot of good things to learn from her story. But sometimes they're threatened, or sometimes they're groomed so successfully that the girl, it's usually a girl, sometimes it's a boy too, but that the girl or the child is convinced that this adult actually loves them and cares about them, and they're convinced that their parents don't, because so many kids today don't have a strong family household. So many families are broken. You know, so there's a lot of, even families that are still together, like even two-parent households, many of them, they just don't have a strong relationship with their kids. That kid is at high risk because they don't have a radar for this stuff. They've never been told about crime and child sex trafficking. They don't have a very strong relationship with their father, because their father might be a nice guy, but he's always out working. And so he gets home, he's tired, and he's not really cultivating that relationship. And because of that, it's a lot easier for a groomer to swoop in and play the hero. We saw that in the Epstein case, and Ghislaine Maxwell. And what's even scarier about that is they will take kids and abuse them. And then they'll say, now, how about if you have any of your friends that want to make some money too, go back to your school and bring us over some more. So you can actually have like 9-year-old kids recruiting other 9-year-old kids. I mean, this whole system is sick and demented, and most people have no idea that this is going on, even in our small towns.
Well, it's by design. You know, this has been years of the demons designed to destroy the family. I've been on this bandwagon, I know you have, for years. And finally, I think people are waking up and listening now that they have to stay at home because of the coronavirus. That's the good thing that's coming out of it. The parents are finally at home with their kids, right? Okay, so when we come back, I need to ask you, Jeffrey Epstein, what does he have to do with satanic ritual abuse?
Absolutely.
What is satanic ritual abuse? And is it part of human trafficking? When we come back, we're with Josh Peck.
If you're like me, and you're tired of organized religion, the same kind of preacher preaching feel-good sermons, I'm a mom raising 2 kids, and I want them to hear the truth. I'm a gatherer right here on David Heavener Live, every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we learn what it means to be a real Christian, to cast our demons, heal the sick, and fight the good fight. I'm not famous, and I'm certainly not rich, but I am a child of the living God, and I stand on truth. I hope you'll join me and many others right here on David Heavener Live, where we learn to use our God-given power. I've come to chew gum and kick the devil's rear end, and I'm all out of gum.
They've made many, many movies about aliens, but the question is, are they angelic or demonic? Why don't they want to acknowledge the supernatural?
The seminary education today, that when pastors are being trained, there's no emphasis on the supernatural, even though the Bible's a supernatural book.
As in the days of Noah, so it will be.
And it goes down to, well, what is their ultimate purpose? Inaugurate the Antichrist.